Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Sportscast Jersey. Today we are joined by a bit of a local legend in Sal Minty-Gravett.
I was one of those water babies that swam underwater before I walked. So swimming changed because lots more people started swimming with the Jersey Swimming Club. Very competitive, which I didn't like. I didn't like that nastiness that went with it. So I preferred being in the sea. In 1974 I did my first Windermere. And then the channel happened as a natural progression from there, really. So that was when it all started. I was about 15, 16. The nerves are, will I get my swim done? I know I can do the swim, but it's all about the elements and everything that goes with it. But if I am, and I'm still fit and strong enough, I'm going to ask somebody to pay me to do it. And then we'll get it done and it'll be another record.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Sportscast Jersey. Today we are joined by a bit of a local legend in Sal Minty-Gravett. How are you doing today, Sal?
Good, thank you. The weather's not very nice, is it? So it's quite nice to be inside for a change.
Yeah, it's not great at all. It's not been great all week. Hopefully it goes away next week.
Yeah. Had a lovely sunny dog walk first thing this morning, so that was fine.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
We'll get going with the questions, and as always, my first question to everyone is: have you always been sporty? What are your kind of first memories of sport when you were younger?
So as I was born in the Congo, the coolest place to keep me was in the water. So my parents started me very young I was one of those water babies that swam underwater before I walked. So I don't really remember that, obviously. But when I came back to Jersey in 1960, I remember my dad joining Jersey Swimming Club. And in those days, the swimming lessons were at Half-Day Par bathing pool because we didn't have any indoor pools. So I remember my first lessons down there in the sea. You know, none of this namby-pamby hot water stuff that everybody gets now.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where it all started, really. And I just loved being in the water, you know, and I don't really remember. I do remember the Cormorant and Curlew club nights when I was a bit older. And it was just the highlight of my week was Monday and Friday club nights at Half-Day Par.
Yeah.
We used to do swimming to the dike, swimming to Green Street, slipway on the high tides, and competitions in the sea and life saving and all, you know, as you got older, did all those things. But my recollection of Joyce Woodward, who was the teacher that taught me, who shared the same birthday as me, actually, she used to teach me along. It's not there anymore because it's all been renovated. So where the rock is at the end of if you look at from the beach, there's a rock on the left.
Yeah.
There used to be a little bridge from there to the shallow end. There used to be a lower deck. I don't know if you've seen some old pictures.
Yeah.
And that's where we used to have all our old swimming lessons down along there. And some kids were really scared about the crabs and all that. And I thought it was fascinating. I loved it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, so I grew up in the sea. It was just my natural habitat, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned your dad being part of the swimming club, going swimming. Was he a big influence in you starting to swim?
Huge. My mum and dad were both swimmers. They both represented Jersey at swimming and diving. And in fact, my dad represented Jersey, I think, in about 11 sports and captained them at 7 of those. So he was an all-rounder. Whereas, you know, we just focused on, and we played hockey at school, but, and I was never very academic or didn't really want to study at school. So all I wanted to do was to be outside either playing hockey or swimming. So there you go. Yeah. But my parents were both very sporty and very encouraging as well.
Yeah. You mentioned there was no swimming pools indoors. When they were introduced or created, did you ever go indoors or was open water?
Well, yes, because in the early days, we only ever swam in the summer.
Yeah.
So swimming was kind of May. I remember at the age of 10, my dad taking me to early morning training at the old Merton Hotel, which was a completely different pool. And it was a 36 2/3 yard pool built with a round shallow end and a round deep diving pit. And in the diving pit, there was a 10-meter, 5-meter, 3-meter boards. It was magnificent. And I really wish they'd never changed it because it was fabulous. And there was a lovely round shallow bit for the kids. There was a 6-lane training pool, which was beautiful. It would have been now it would have been a lovely outdoor Lido, which is what I think they're trying to get back. But if they'd kept it, we'd have had one all the time. So our early morning trainings used to start in April, May, and it was bitterly cold. I remember the floor being icy cold, but the water was warm in comparison to the floor. So, but indoor pools was De La Salle opened in 1969, and I was already 12. I was already a champion by then. And then, so we moved into the pool. To our club nights moved on Monday and Friday nights there. And on Saturday afternoons, we used to swim, which was great fun because they do lessons and then coaching. So swimming changed because lots more people started swimming with the Jersey Swimming Club.
Yeah. And
that changed and evolved and got bigger and bigger. And then in 1971, Fort Regent was opened.
Yeah.
And then Regent Tiger started a new swimming club. So there was the rivalry between the two clubs. And then there was more swimming because then we started early morning training in there. So, and then it evolved again and changed again and grew again. And that, in the history of swimming all around the world, the more pools you provide, the more swimming you get, and the more swimming grows, and the more lessons you can provide. So it was an ever evolving thing. And we're in a situation right now, I think it's quite dire, that they're talking about losing the aqua splash. So we're going to potentially lose a pool, which is worrying me really, because swimming is so big now in Jersey. And if you did that, I think it would be detrimental to the population, I actually think, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
For sure. You're obviously known for your bigger open water swims. What did you see as your first ever big challenge, let's say?
Well, Maurice Lakeman saw my potential when I was about 14, and he had coached Denise Lepennick. And he said to me, why don't you come and try Gorey to Bully Bay? Because I got to the point in competitive swimming that I was the #1 swimmer. I was the first female to break this 1:10 for 100 meters up at the fort in a championship. And that was lasted for a week, and then somebody else broke it, which is what happens all the time, which is great. But it was becoming very bitchy, very competitive, which I didn't like. I didn't like that nastiness that went with it. So I preferred being in the sea. And at that time as well, we had Sunday competitions in the sea, as well as the pool competitions, but I always excelled in the sea. So Maurice Lakeman saw my potential and said, look, come on, let's go and try Gorey to Bully Bay, which Denise Lepennick had done as part of her training for her channel swim. And so I did that. And of course, because Denise was a breaststroker and I was a front crawler, I took like an hour and a half off her record time, but that wasn't difficult because it was a different swim.
Yeah.
And then I did Corbière to town, and then I did a town to Corbière and back. And I started really just enjoying being in the sea for a long time. And then in 1974, I did my first Windermere. And then the channel happened as a natural progression from there, really. So that was when it all started. I was about 15, 16, really.
Yeah. I was going to ask this question a bit later on, but what were you more nervous for? Were you not more nervous for that first swim, or do you still get as nervous in your later swims?
There's always butterflies in your tummy, which is good. If there wasn't, I'd be a bit worried. But in every single swim, I've always been nervous for a couple of days before, always, because it's not just me. If you signed up to do a marathon on the 21st of April, you do the marathon on the 21st of April.
Yeah.
And as you know from the history of my swims, you can go to Dover for your tide and you can come back without a swim because of the weather.
Yeah.
So you can only change what's in your ability to change. You can't change the elements. So the nerves are will I get my swim done? I know I can do the swim, but it's all about the elements and everything that goes with it. And when you're finally told that it's going to happen, then you start relaxing, because you know it's going to happen, or you hope it's going to happen, and your fingers crossed for the whole time, because weather can change very quickly, as you know.
Yeah.
So I've been in the situation many times where, you know, I've come away without my swim, I've had to go back, I've had to go back, I've had to go back. And that's one of the reasons why I don't want to do the big swims anymore like that, because it's stressful.
Yeah.
And that stress adds to the, not the magic of the swim, but it adds to the pressures of the swim. And I really don't want to do that anymore on a regular basis. So I'll do it with other people, and I'll wait with them while they swim, and I'll help them swim. I've got a couple of swimmers this year that I'm helping on their swims. So, and it takes somebody who's been there before to understand. And, you know, a lot of people don't understand that. There's a lot of, yeah.
How tough is that when it did get cancelled, and obviously mentally you're disappointed, but physically you've got your body in a place ready for it, and then you've got to go away and get ready for another date again.
I know, and you do go off the boil. And I certainly went off the boil in 2021, big time. And then I got another call in September and went over specifically to do the swim. We flew over Wednesday. I was coming back Friday. I was thinking swimming on Thursday. And on Wednesday afternoon, the pilot says to me, "You're not going tomorrow." And that was really, really upsetting, because that swim was a very special swim. And it really upset me that didn't happen. So, but it makes you more resilient if you can cope with it. And that's what makes, you know, Matthew Webb on his tombstone is "Nothing great is easy." And that's part of it. The whole build up, the preparation, the waiting, and you eat ready for your swim, and then the swim doesn't happen, so you carry on eating. And that's why traditionally a lot of channel swimmers, long distance swimmers, are bigger than other swimmers, because you eat ready for your swim and then it doesn't happen, so you have to carry on eating.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the whole thing. It just adds up, and it escalates and escalates and escalates. And then when you get the swim done, once it's done, it's not an anticlimax, but a lot of people go into depression after they've done a swim, because there's been such a build up. And most people, I mean, I booked that swim last year in 2016 for 2020. So that's gone on 6 years.
Yeah.
If you think about it. And 2020 obviously didn't happen, obviously for various reasons, but it's all of that adds to either how special the swim is, but how much you need to prepare. It's not just about the swimming. You have to prepare for the waiting, you have to prepare for the boredom, you have to prepare for the lack of sleep, you have to prepare. There's so many things and elements to a long distance swim that you don't think about.
Yeah.
You know, with a pool swimming competition, you know it's going to happen on this date. You prepare, you eat properly, you do this, you sleep well, you go up, you do your competition, you come home. It's easy peasy, like a run, you know, it's the same. But long distance swimming has so many other stuff that goes with it.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't see that. They just see the end result.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yeah, it's good to speak about that side of things.
It is, because a lot of people don't understand it.
Yeah. Talking about tough side of things, which channel swim would you say has been your hardest mentally or physically to complete?
The two-way, I think. That took 20 years in the planning, really. I was talking about it for about 20 years. Never got around to doing it till 2016. And although it was the most daunting, because I'd have to get there and turn around and come back, in the 3 years that I was waiting to do it, because it was booked. I tried it in 2013, only got one way. I got one way. And then rebooked it for 2014, rolled it over to 2015, finally did it in 2016. And during that waiting period, I was really worried about the turning around in France. And I'd watched a lot of people do it, and I'd watched this, and I'd watched so many people turn around, start swimming and get out. And I thought to myself, that's not going to be me. I am not going to do that. And by the time I did it, my head was over that. And Charlie wasn't very well. And I said to him, you're not coming on the boat, but I want you to be land support. And I think that was kind of a big step for me, because when I got to France, I turned around to the girls. I said, I'm swimming back to Charlie. I'm off. And I just let them carry on with all the stuff. And they followed me back to the boat. And then that was just, my head was just swimming back to Charlie. So, there's a lot of mind games go on in these swims. And I think that for me, there was never a time that I said, I'm going to get out. I want to get out. I've had enough. I'd set my head when I left England. My plan was to swim back to England. And that was it. There was nothing going to stop me.
Yeah.
The only thing that would have stopped me would have been weather, but I had perfect weather. Perfect weather.
How obviously it is hard, but physically, how tough are these challenges?
This sounds really big-headed, but the swimming is not difficult for me.
Yeah.
I haven't now swum since December. I've got the swim marathon coming up this weekend. And people will be training hard for the swim marathon because they think they need to do that. Yeah. I'll get in and do the swim marathon. It'll be easy. But if I wanted to, in a couple of months, I could probably swim a channel swim if I wanted. Wouldn't be pretty, and it wouldn't be fast. But physically and mentally, I could do it.
Yeah.
Because I've got so much mileage in my shoulders, so much muscle memory. I know what's expected of me. And sometimes, actually, if you've done something once and you do it again, everybody says, well, you've done it before, so it's easy.
Yeah.
It's never easy, but the swimming is not difficult for me. And a lot of people who have done big swims, they save all their life to do a channel swim. Once they've done that, then they get a bit lost and they need to find another challenge, which is why so many people are doing lots of other swims around the world now, which there are.
Yeah.
Which is great. In the day when I did my first swim, people just wanted to do the English Channel or the North Channel. Nobody knew about all these other ocean swims that we've got now. So swimming's changed so much for the good, good. But there's so many waiting lists. There's a 3 or 4 waiting lists for all these swims now. So I think if I need to book another channel swim, I'm going to have to book it in about 5 years' time.
Yeah. Going on, we've talked about your toughest, but what one's been your favourite challenge that you've completed or taken part in?
I loved swimming around Manhattan. I absolutely adored that swim. I was fit. I was very fast, and I beat Alison Streeter, who was the queen of the channel, by 20 seconds. We were on the same day, and it was my claim to fame, and it's been my claim to fame ever since. I did 7 hours 20, which is really fast. Very proud of that. Really enjoyed it. But my swim last year, I really enjoyed it because I had a perfect start. I had perfect weather. I had the perfect finish with friends with champagne. I wasn't sick. It was a daylight swim. And I didn't find it difficult, which sounds really bizarre and sounds really boasting, but I think I was really relaxed and rested before I started. And the stars were all aligned for me last year. It was just perfect. My first swim, I didn't know anything about it. So I just got in and swam it. Yeah. And then I learnt as a result of that. I was really sick in it. Couldn't move my arms for 3 or 4 days after that because I overtrained. Never did that again. Queen of undertraining. That's me. I did more training for my 2-way, obviously. But I just, there have been a couple of swims where I've been really, really sick. So 1985, 2005, 2013, I was really sick for a long period of time, constantly. Yeah. So those were hard swims, but there was never a time when I said I was going to get out.
Yeah.
No way. There was a time when I thought I was going to be taken out because I was being so sick. And actually, Lake Tahoe, I got altitude sickness halfway up. And that's 21 miles of just water. There's no currents. There's no tide to help you or resist you. And so I had to swim the last 8 hours of that being sick with altitude sickness, feeling bloody rough. Sorry, I shouldn't swear. That was probably my toughest swim ever, actually. Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
Different swim.
Touch on last year, the most recent swim. Obviously, he was dedicated to Charlie. How emotional was that swim for you?
It was a very happy swim.
Yeah.
I'd kept back some of his ashes, which came with me across the channel. And when I got back in the boat, I put him in the water at the end of the channel swim while we were leaving France. So he did that with me spiritually, physically, and it was for him. So it was very special. It was probably my most special swim, I would say. And the accolades that have come from that swim have been remarkable. I received another award on the weekend, which had never been given in the life of the Channel Swimming and Piloting Federation. I'll send you a picture of it in a minute, because I'm sitting looking at it. I'll show you it. There, it's there.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that was a huge surprise. Very lovely surprise. I'm very honoured. Yeah. So yeah, it was a very special swim. Very nice swim.
Good. What are your favourite parts of these challenges as well? Obviously, you love swimming, so that's just a bonus. But
it's always the finish.
Yeah,
it's always the finish.
Yeah,
because you know you've done it and you've achieved it. Nobody else has achieved it. Yes, you've got a team. You can't do it on your own. It's been said many, many times before, but I've only ever done things for my own personal achievement. I've never done it to please anyone else or for anyone else. I've raised a lot of money over the years for people's charities. It's always the finish. The swimming's always a bit daunting. The start's always a bit daunting because you know what you've got in front of you, especially if you've done it before. But I wasn't phased at all last year. Not at all. I was ready. I needed to get it done.
That's brilliant. You obviously teach people to swim from various ages. What do you prefer, the teaching people or the getting in doing it yourself?
Teaching is probably the most rewarding thing you could ever do. And I'm going to give you a little example now, and she won't mind me saying it. I'm teaching privately at St. Bellard's Bay Hotel at the moment, one-to-one lessons, adults. And at the start of my lessons, I had a 72-year-old lady that couldn't swim. And on her 6th lesson last week, she swam her first length. Front crawl, back crawl, front crawl, back crawl. 2 days later, she swam 8 lengths.
Wow.
Front crawl, back crawl, front crawl, back crawl. Big smile on her face, absolutely delighted. And last night, she swam 16 lengths. This is all in one lesson.
Yeah.
And for me, to see that happiness in that person's face. I mean, 72 isn't to be sniffed at, and she is so delighted and so happy with it. And she's got a life-saving skill she's done. And what I'm going to do with all those one-to-ones now in June, we're going to transfer that swimming into the sea. And we're going to meet in the sea and we're going to have fun, and I'll be in the water with them. And we can see where they can go. One of them's training for a triathlon. So she's learning to swim for a triathlon, try. So I'm looking forward to that, actually. So I don't have to be inside anymore.
Yeah, amazing.
I love swimming, but I'm having a complete break. I haven't actually been in the water properly, apart from teaching, since December.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Amazing. And you've been doing it for years, because I remember you teaching me back in the day.
And your sister.
And my sister, yeah. And you've probably taught so many people on this island how to swim as well.
Yeah, it's very rewarding.
Yeah, just what's your favourite part? Is it just seeing the smile, like you just said, or just seeing someone go from "I can't swim at all, help me, Sal," and then
it's when they achieve their ambition.
Yeah.
This lady, Caroline is her name. She just wanted to learn to swim, and now she just wants to do more. And she goes every single day to get better. She was doing an aqua class, stuck in the corner, holding onto the wall. She's now doing aqua in the middle of the pool and having a great time.
Yeah.
So my job's done, but we can just get her to get stronger now. So And that's just one example. And other people want to learn to relax and swim better. The little kids that I'm teaching, I've had a little girl called Valentina who was completely hydrophobic 2 years ago. We've got her swimming on her own now, so she's got her face in the water and off she's going like a little tadpole. And mum and parents are delighted, and it's all that. It's a wonderful feeling that you've given that person that skill. And I've got some children that are actually quite dangerous, because they'll just let go of the side and think they can survive, and they can't always survive, and you've got to make sure you're there for them. But I'll share this with them because they'll laugh when they hear this. But and when I'm on holiday, I just swim for pleasure. I don't bother swimming a lot. So
yeah, exactly. We'll touch on your MBE as well. How proud were you of that moment and that achievement?
That was probably the proudest award I have ever received. I think it will be forever. And Charlie wrote down that was his proudest moment of his life. So when we said goodbye to Charlie, he wanted that picture of me with him and my MBE on his coffin, which I've kept and I take to presentations now because it's a beautiful photo. The whole procedure, how they do it, is typically British, and nobody does it like the Brits. I mean, they get 150 investitures done, or 110 investitures done in 15 minutes. And it's bang, bang, bang. But when you're there and you're talking to the royal who is presenting you, you feel like you're the only person in the room because they know everything about you. And I'll never forget that moment. It was Prince Charles that gave it to me, who's now the king. So that was another honor. Charlie was there, my two brothers and one of the wives were there with me watching it. So it was a very, very special weekend. Very proud, very proud.
Yeah, amazing. And since and even before that, you've got loads of awards. And how good is it to be recognised so often?
Well, it's I keep getting asked to go to these presentations to do Q&As, as you know, and then suddenly I'm on the stage getting an award. So I'm going to be very suspicious if I'm asked to go anywhere again. But it's just and I'm going to New York to collect another award in May. And that's on the day of King Charles's investiture, his coronation. Right. So which is quite nice actually. So so I'm hoping that might be the end, because I'm trying to declutter my house at the moment, which is a bit difficult when you keep getting all these lovely awards to put up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Amazing. Let's talk about the future now. Obviously, you say you're on a break at the moment. Will you ever be tempted to take on another big challenge?
Never say never, as I've said before. I'm having a break from swimming at the moment. I'm doing some rowing, which is great. What I'd like to do this year is start to Jersey, if I can do it. I'm going away for quite a long time. So I'm going to rowing on Sunday, and I'm going to talk to them about the possibilities of getting in a team for Sark to Jersey. I think that's going to be possible. And that would be really cool, because then I could be the only woman that's swum from Sark to Jersey and rowed from Sark to Jersey. So that's kind of a nice thing to be able to do. And it's something a bit different. So we'll just see if I can get into a team. That's the end of July, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing. Channel swims, is that, do you think you can do it another decade?
Well, I'm going to repeat what I keep telling people, that if I'm in the right place in 9 years' time, when I'm 75 and I'm fit and I want to do it, I could be living in the Caribbean. I might not have any interest in channel swimming at all. I just don't know where I'm going to be at that time. But if I am, and I'm still fit and strong enough, I'm going to ask somebody to pay me to do it, and then we'll get it done, and it'll be another record. But I'm not even thinking about that, because nobody knows what's around the corner. So, I'm just enjoying having a break and just enjoying a nice, easy life at the moment without the pressures of all that stuff at the moment. So we'll just wait and see. I'm not going to say no, and I'm not going to say yes. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Final question. Well, a question that I wanted to ask as well is, you've obviously been in support of other swimmers. How good is it to see other swimmers complete these big challenges as
Oh, well, it's as good as doing it yourself. It's wonderful seeing them achieve. We've got we've got 2 Jersey Channel swimmers going this year. I'll be on one of them's boats, not the other. And I sincerely hope they do it. It's just a wonderful feeling to see somebody achieve anything, however small, however big. It's just great. Yeah, absolutely.
Final question. What are your kind of top tips for people who are either interested in completing a channel swim or interested in just starting sea swimming in general? What are your top tips?
Number 1 top tip is don't swim on your own. You know, I'm reading quite a few stories now of people who are swimming on their own and getting into difficulties, heart attacks. If you're on your own, you ain't going to survive if you're on your own, if you have a heart attack. Swim with buddies, always swim within your own capabilities, within your own limits. If you're not strong enough to go in the sea, then go and find somebody that can help you. There's a lot of people out there that will help people. I'm one of them. There are many people available to help, and I can give advice. And in fact, I do an open water swimming camp in May, and I'm available now because I have the time to do private coaching in the sea, and I'm going to be doing that with my swimmers I've been teaching, so I can progress them to the sea, and I think that they will just love it. And we can do it safely. You know, there's tow floats you can wear. If you don't want to wear a wetsuit, you don't have to wear a wetsuit, but if you want to wear a wetsuit, that's fine. You need to learn about the tides, and that's a whole different ball game. So you need to go with people who know what they're doing, really, and have knowledge, because the Jersey tides and the Jersey waters are safe in places, but very dangerous in others. And I never swim on my own, ever, never have done. I've done a couple of swims in St. Catherine's Bay, but I've got somebody up at the top watching me. So, and I've always got a tow float on me so they can see me. And I never go out of their sight. So, and that's an experienced swimmer. You know, I see too many people get into difficulties.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay safe and don't start swimming now. Wait until it's warmer. Really.
Yeah, for sure. Right, Sal, thank you for coming on the podcast. As always,
It's
a pleasure to
a
talk.
pleasure. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for your time.
No, thank you. That was Sal on Sportscast Jersey. Thank you for watching or listening. Another episode is coming soon.